The Pesha was a foreshadowing of the coming of our Messiah, Yahusha, and the sacrifice he would make to redeem the remnant of Yasharal, those guarding the commands of Elohim and possessing the witness of Yahusha Messiah. Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 22, verses 7-8. And Yitzhak spoke to Abraham, his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, my son. And he said, See, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for an ascending offering? And Abraham said, My son, Elohim does provide for himself the lamb for an ascending offering. And the two of them went together. Yehonan, John, chapter 20, verse 17. Yahusha said to her, Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father. But go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, and to my Elohim and your Elohim. Therefore, if Yahusha is our Pesha lamb, he would have been slain between the evenings on the 14th day of the month of Aviv, as was commanded. Shemoth, Exodus, chapter 12, verses 5-6. Let the lamb be a perfect one, a year-old male. Take it from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same new moon. Then all the assembly of the congregation of Yasharal shall slay it between the evenings. Yehonan, John, chapter 1, verse 29. On the next day, Yehonan saw Yahusha coming toward him, and said, See, the Lamb of Elohim, who takes away the sin of the world. Corinthium Aleph, 1 Corinthians, chapter 5, verses 6-8. Your boasting is not good. Do you not know that a little leaven leavens the entire lump? Therefore cleanse out the old leaven, so that you are a new lump, as you are unleavened. For Messiah our Pesha was slaughtered for us. So then, let us celebrate the festival not with old leaven, nor with the leaven of evil and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. We know that Yahusha breathed his last sometime during the 9th hour, leaving only a few hours before sundown and the beginning of the high Sabbath of the 15th and the festival of Matzah. Shemoth, Exodus, chapter 12, verses 5-6. Let the lamb be a perfect one, a year-old male. Take it from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same new moon. Then all the assembly of the congregation of Yasharal shall slay it between the evenings. Yehonan, John, chapter 1, verse 29. On the next day, Yehonan saw Yahusha coming toward him, and said, See, the Lamb of Elohim, who takes away the sin of the world. Luke, chapter 23, verses 44-46. And it was now about the 6th hour, and darkness came over all the land, until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the dwelling place was torn in two. And crying out with a loud voice, Yahusha said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And having said this, he breathed his last. It is a law among Yasharal that a body is not to hang overnight on a tree, but must be buried or laid to rest that same day. Debarim, Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 22-23. And when a man has committed a sin worthy of death, then he shall be put to death, and you shall hang him on a tree. Let his body not remain overnight on the tree, for you shall certainly bury him the same day. For he who is hanged is accursed of Elohim, so that you do not defile the land which Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you as an inheritance. Yehoshua, Joshua, chapter 8, verse 29. And he hanged the sovereign of Ai on a tree until evening. And at sunset, Yehoshua commanded that they should take his corpse down from the tree and throw it at the entrance of the gate of the city and raise over it a great heap of stones to this day. Yehonan, John, chapter 19, verse 31. Therefore, since it was the preparation day, that the bodies should not remain on the stake on the Sabbath, for the Sabbath was a high one, the Yahudim asked Pilate to have their legs broken and that they be taken away. Now we're going to see once again another example of evening not being the same as sundown. In the book of Yehonan, the 20th chapter, in verse 1, Miriam goes to the tomb on the first day of the week before the sun had risen. Later that same day, in verse 19, it says that it was evening on that day, day 1 of the week, when the taught ones were meeting and Yahusha appeared and stood in their midst. Now pay close attention as I read. Yehonan, John, chapter 20, verses 1 to 19. And on day 1 of the week, Miriam from Magdala came early to the tomb, while it was still dark, and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So she ran and came to Shimon Kepha, and to the other taught one whom Yahusha loved, and said to them, They have taken the Master out of the tomb, and we do not know where they laid him. Then Kepha and the other taught one went out, and they were going to the tomb, and the two were running together. But the other taught one outran Kepha, and came to the tomb first, and stooped down and saw the linen wrappings laying, but he did not go in. Then Shimon Kepha came, following him, and went into the tomb, and he saw the linen wrappings lying, and the cloth which had been on his head, not lying with the linen wrappings, but folded up in a place by itself. So then the other taught one who came to the tomb first also went in, and he saw and believed. For they did not yet know the scripture that he was to rise again from the dead. Therefore the taught ones went away by themselves. But Miriam was standing outside the tomb weeping. Then as she wept, she stooped down to the tomb, and saw two messengers in white sitting, one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Yahusha had been laid. And they said to her, Woman, why do you weep? And she said to them, Because they took away my master, and I do not know where they laid him. And having said this, she turned around and saw Yahusha standing, but she did not know that it was Yahusha. Yahusha said to her, Woman, why do you weep? Whom do you seek? Thinking he was the gardener, she said to him, Master, if you have carried him away, say to me where you put him, and I shall take him away. Yahusha said to her, Miriam. She turned and said to him, Rabbani, which means teacher. Yahusha said to her, Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, and to my Elohim and to your Elohim. Miriam from Magdala came announcing to the taught ones that she had seen the Master, and that he had told her this. When therefore it was evening on that day, day 1 of the week, and when the doors were shut where the taught ones met, for fear of the Yahudim, Yahusha came and stood in the midst, and said to them, Peace to you.